Hi, Joe Cerrone. Welcome to CAD 230 Introduction to Solidworks and our weekly Zoom meeting. Module 4 is available. In Module 4, we will look at shell, extrude, taper, and rib features. And there's two lab assignments for Module 4, Lab 4A and Lab 4B. And then I have a bonus lab, which we'll just call 4C, which is the socket wrench. If we take a look at those labs, here's the 4A lab right here. And as we look at the way this lab was created, we start off with this basic sketch. And then we extrude it with a taper. And so as we look at some of the features here, you should start getting a little bit more familiar with it, where we could edit the feature here in the feature manager. You can see I have a 5-degree draft outward taper, and it's a 2-inch extrusion. So we'll green check mark that. And then the next step in the process is to put this cutout right here. And the cutout was a little tricky. It's based off a sketch. And we do this quite a bit in SolidWorks, where we sketch on a plane. And so if you want to look at the different planes and highlight them, you can right click and click on the show button here, and then you can see them. And so here's the front plane. And as you can see, the front plane is right down the middle of the part. And so you draw that front plane and then you extrude it in both directions. And so we'll just bail out of whatever command that's in there. And then we'll green check mark this. And so we have this configuration. I hit the space bar and grab an isometric view. In the video, there's a bit of a glitch. We call it a glitch. It's actually an error, where when they did do this component right here, but the next part right here, this rib function, it's supposed to be at this plane or at this level. And I believe the instructor did it on the top. And so the part itself kind of sticks up. If you did that, I'll accept it. But if you didn't do that, if you're attending the Zoom meeting, in the directions, yeah, even the best guys will get some of those things in error. It's always good to have somebody else who looks at it. And so once we create those rib functions, we'll fill it, continue to fill it, and then we will shell the object so that the bottom of it is hollow like that. And we're doing some great things with the 3D printers. If you guys want to do some 3D printing, let me know. That's an area that I'm trying to grow at the college. And so far it's working. I've got 15 people in the class, which is a good number for a 3D printing class. Nice thing about 3D printing is you don't have any setup. All you have to do is buy the materials, and then you can create these different prototypes of the objects. It's a little bit slow, takes 3 or 4 hours sometimes to print something this big, but it's great to have a working prototype. All right, so that's the first lab. And then if we look at the second lab, lab 4B, 4B is this, kind of looks like one of those styrofoam boxes they give you at a restaurant when you can't finish your dinner. They used to call them doggy bags. And if we look at that exercise here, here's an example of that. This one is really quite tricky. It does take a while to do it. Not my favorite assignment among the assignments in the textbook. As you go through and you look at the construction techniques for this, we start off with one side where we'll extrude it and taper it. Again, you can look at those features by clicking the feature manager, editing the feature, and then you can see this is basically a rectangular shape. Notice that all the lines are fully defined, and they're fully defined because everything is tied up to the origin. So sometimes if you can't get something that's fully defined, and let's just erase this one. Hopefully I don't blow everything up. Bam, there we go. And then if we look at that sketch, oh, it came back. I guess I couldn't erase it. But when you erase one of these, let's see, come on. delete. You lose the fully definitions because it wants to be, it wants to know where it is in relationship to the origin. So if you have some of these blue lines that aren't fully defined, a couple of techniques. One, look to see if you're creating a dimension to the origin. And then two, you can always right click and you can select fully defined sketch, and SolidWorks can find a solution for you. And I think I talked a little bit about it last week. I usually don't like to take the whole model. What I'll do is I'll say selected entities, and then I'll select the one that's blue, and then I'll say calculate. And see, it did calculate, it just put it down here instead of up here. So it knows it's 400 thousandths that will then fully define the entire sketch. So just a slight tip for those of you who are working on some of these things as we go through it. We'll go ahead and say okay, and then we'll bring this down, and then we fill it the edges. SolidWorks does an awesome job at creating these fillets and rounds. Once we have done that, we'll cut extrude. Looks like it's probably on the bottom somewhere. Yeah, there it is. There's our cut. And then we'll go through and fillet that, soften it up, continue. And then we'll extrude a feature on the top. And we'll fillet that as well. Create another little tab there. And then we mirror the whole assembly about that line. And then again, we do another cut extrude. There they are over here for the tabs that connect. Another boss extrude on the other side. More filleting. And then we shell the part. And there are some good resources for you guys if you want to do even more SolidWorks. I was looking on my SolidWorks account. And so let's see if I can find it. Let's see. Resetting passwords. Here it is. And so this is my SolidWorks, and you can Google it. And I believe I can get you an account there, or you can get one as a student. And then they have all kinds of stuff that you can look up. And so I was looking for searching training for shell features. And it's nice because they have it all laid out, and they include, oh, great. Let's just leave it go and see if it does it anyway. I have a car that's kind of like that. I'll get lights on it and there's nothing wrong with it. Good old German engineering, my Volkswagen. All right, we'll have to cancel. And then let's see. Anyway, my SolidWorks has really got some great training in it. And so if I go to the home page on it here, you can go through and go into this training. And so here's a My SolidWorks for Students. So you can get access to that. Take a look at that student version of SolidWorks that has the serial number. It's right at the top in red. And then you can get information for that. And then to draft site is just AutoCAD for SolidWorks. And then let's see, here's training. So we go to training, and here's this guy. He looks so interested. Lessons. You know, they have models that do that. You know, that's what I've learned over 20 some years of working at the college, is that they do take some pictures of students, but some of them, they don't know what they're doing. They're just looking at the picture of the computer. And here's all these different things, and they put it by the newest. And so it looks like they're pushing draft site now, which is basically a 2D version of CAD. But if you go in there, you can search training for things like ribs. Maybe that'll play better than. And so here's rib features. And then we can go through these lessons when it works. Apparently I'm having another problem with it, but the lessons are quite good. Anyway, I've spent enough time on this trying to get it to work, and it's glitching out from their end. So that one's not my fault. So as we work on these different exercises, okay, we're in chapter 6. and we're looking at these rib and shell features. We create the geometry, extrude it with a draft angle, and then we create a sketch on one of the planes. We cut it, and then we go through. This was sort of the hardest part for me, was creating this feature to be removed, that sketch to be removed. And then once you remove that, then you have to select, this is the sketch face. And they should do it in 3D because you can't really tell. And so it's that little edge there. And then basically you just draw the sketch of these concentric circles and these two lines with offsets. And then you'll use the rib feature on it. And what the rib will do is it'll extrude that feature or those lines down into a rib. It'll let you, tell it how far you want that to go. And so if we come here and we look at the rib feature, here it is right here. And then if we edit that feature, okay, basically you can set up the way the thickness is to be 1/4 of an inch, both sides. You can have it work on one side or the other. And then you select, that shape as the parts to work with. And then it's just basic filleting. Questions at the end of the chapter, and then another CAD model that we'll work on. Questions for review. End of the chapter exercises. And that's it. There's not a lot of content in chapter 6. So I did add a bonus assignment. And so here's the bonus assignment. And it was created by one of the guys who has a way better YouTube channel than I do. And you can look him up if you'd like. So we go to module 4. And so the bonus exercise is right here. Chris Sikora. I don't think he's got it under his name. I think he does his tutorials under Vertinux. But let's see if we play it. I bet you he has like 5,000 likes.
Exercise 3.
So, it doesn't tell me. I have to open it in a new window. There we go.
Exercise 3. In this exercise, we're going to
54,000 views. So Chris has got quite a bit of people who follow him. So it's an excellent assignment by an excellent instructor. The instructor, or let's see, here it is. Let's see if I can get my Solidworks on here. So here's my socket wrench, and the instructions for the socket wrench are right here in D2L. If we go to content, module 4, and then we look at the PDF right here. Let's just download it. And I like the way he writes his instructions as well. Nice color, short, to the page, to the point. Create this sketch, notice where the origin is. And then what we'll do is we'll extrude that mid-plane. And then what we'll do is we'll work on the face of it here, create a sketch on that face, and subtract that or saw cut it. And then we kind of bore down on it. We go to the next face, and then we'll create this geometry and we'll cut that. And then after that, we'll create a reference plane or a XY plane. And what we'll do is we'll offset the top plane, and you can hold the control key and just slide it down, or you can use the reference tool to create a new plane. And we'll create a plane 4 inches from the top plane. And then we'll sketch a circle on that, and we'll extrude that up to the geometry here. And then we'll create a handle. And all very workable from what I've seen from your assignments. The video is good. I like the way we go through and show students how to put their name on it. Anybody who's ever worked in the shop knows that if you don't have your name on it, it's hard to get it back. Not everybody knows where it's at. And so when you go through and you create these different sketches, basically all you need to do is you need to just create some geometry on a surface. And so if I go and I say I want to sketch on this, I got to bail out of this first. If I click on it and then say start a sketch, and then I create a center line like that, and I green check mark it, and then I hit one of the letters here, and then I can just say, let's say OC. I guess I can't do that. I guess I have to say my initials, and then you can green check mark that. And if you want to, you can move it. I think I can move it, because I believe it's left justified, so it'll slide it right. And yes, if you're doing this for production, they will notice if it's not perfectly in the center. So you may have to do some construction work with that. But essentially, once you have the letters on there, you can just green check mark, go to features, and then you can extrude cut it. And we could extrude cut it maybe 0.05 and green check mark that off. I really like this exercise. I feel that it'll get you some nice skills. And then again, if you do want it 3D printed, I will 3D print it for you. Okay, this Zoom meeting's gone on for a while, so I'm going to stop the video. If we take a look at the assignments and the due dates, kind of start to wrap things up here. So today is the 27th. Module 3 is due tomorrow. Module 4 has been released this week, and it's due October 5th. And then the midterm will be module 7. And I'm going to look at pushing that back to after 6. And so I think I'm going to move the midterm back one more week. Next week, I may not be able to run the Zoom meeting. I have some training out on the West Coast. I'll see if I can, but I will put it in the announcements if I'm able to run that. All righty, so that's our assignment for this week. I'll stop the recording and open things up for questioning.